All right, party people in the place to be, vandals, and all the people that like to smoke Cthulhu cigarettes. This is a brand new episode. How do we get here? And tonight we're, kind of showing some David Rubin love, but not just him. We're going to be talking about a couple of our favorite writers. Two of my personal kind of newer favorites. Joey, what are we talking about tonight, buddy?
Tonight we're going to be talking about Kickstarter that got picked up by Image. We'll be talking about Cosmic Detective, co-written by Matt Kindt and Jeff Lemire, and the art and illustration work was done by David Rubin. Great work on this. David Rubin did a fantastic job. And then we'll be doing Ehther, book by Matt Kindt that was published by Dar Horse, and David Rubin also did the art on this one. And both are very fun and quirky books. So, yeah, which isn't uncommon for a Matt Kindt book. He's got some very quirky stories to tell most of the time.
The books are pretty similar too. I mean, like they're very heavily tinged, and some of them there's actually a couple elements that I would say might be a little reused in Cosmic. But before we get into that, man, do you have a check-in, Joe?
Yeah, man. I went to the mail today because this came in. Yeah. Nick Patera's Axe Wielder John. This was a Zoop campaign, crowdfunded, founded on Zoop, and it just came in today. So I went and picked that up. This bad boy, fantastic book. I don't know if he's going to be announcing anything about a publisher anytime soon, but he was when we talked to him, when we had him on the show, he was saying he was shopping it around, and he was in talks with a couple publishers on.
He does have other copies for sale too. It wasn't just for backers. So, like, if you do want to get a hold of this, he is selling it independently while he's shopping it around. So,
yeah, and I'm not sure if his site is up and running, but it would be Karoshi Comics. Must be the site. I don't see a web. Let's see. Does he have a web page in here where you can click on it? A web address, but I'm sure if you just Google it, you could probably find it. Or
I'm pretty sure if you follow him on Zoop, he probably has all that stuff from.
Yeah, or Instagram maybe he has it.
I remember when we talked to him, he was saying that he was going to be selling it.
Yeah, I don't see an web page or something, but either look for Nick Patera on either Twitter or Instagram, or you could Google the what was that, blurry? Or Kashira Comics, Karoshi Comics. Either look for those, and you could probably find it. And that was that crowdfunded gangbusters. I think he did well over. He almost hit. I think he hit 200 grand for that book on his campaign. So it did really well. Yeah, and that's pretty much my check-in. I mean,
yeah, a lot of reading for the show this week. I didn't have too much either. I didn't take pictures, and I sure wouldn't have space to upload them with like how much art I have for the books we're talking about tonight. But if you check my Instagram, I got my copy of issue 6 of El Crudo in from Manny Shape, and yeah, that's pretty gangster. It's really good. Haven't read it yet, but I did when he sent it to us. But like I haven't like busted open the physical copy.
Yeah. So I was happy that came in. Oh, and it came with a little like card.
I did read some other stuff earlier this week before kind of having Pure on, but like I'm going to talk about that on Sunday because it has way more relevance to Sunday's show. But
okay.
Yeah. So you ready to get into these books, huh?
Yeah, man, I'm ready to go.
All right. First up is Cosmic Detective, co-written by Lemire and Kindt. And man, I can't really tell who really took the lead or what. Like it doesn't really kind of go for your guts like a typical Lemire book. So I think that maybe Kindt had priority writing on it, but It's hard to tell, man, because there's a few parts like the stuff with the detective and his kid, which hit a little more like something Lemire would write than Kindt, because kind of, especially in Ehther, you know what I mean? He kind of went the opposite route.
Yeah,
with the relationships of father and child. So
yeah.
but yeah, man, like this book, it's a lot of fun, man. It's a lot more noir-y than like Ehther. It kind of really hits on the same level as one of my favorites, Private Eye by Brian K. Vaughan and Marcos Martin. It kind of has that same kind of flair to it, as well as, man, like they love them some Jack Kirby. There's like a big lean on especially the Fourth Earth and the what are they called, the Immortals or the Eternals at Marvel, like that type of Jack Kirby stuff. Yeah, straight up.
Yeah, for sure. It's definitely I'd say, if you had to just describe it really quick, like cyberpunk noir murder mystery.
And dude, Rubin goes crazy with this book. He just gets to have fun, and like he does his Kirby thing. Well, but like man, like even just kind of the regular art, it's so much more detailed than his normal work. Like he is really kind of going above and beyond on this particular book.
One thing I noticed that I love are his use of like the Pantone dots and the textures that he puts in. Love it. I love that, how he puts that in throughout the book. It gives the book so much character and texture within the panels and everything. Yeah, it was great. Like you said, like top notch, like A+ for the art on this. Like David Rubin outdid himself on this one.
I mean, like, yeah, like Matt Kindt and Jeff Lemire's names are on this book, but in my opinion, this is Dave Rubin's book. Like, this is David Rubin's book. And hey, Phil, what's up, buddy? It's good to see you. Hey,
Phil. Yeah.
So this starts off, man, just innocuous. Like, dude's eating an apple outside a building, and we get this really cool, like, walk up the stairs, and he meets this other guy, and they kind of start having this kind of really innocuous sounding conversation. Meanwhile, it's being subtitled. I love the way they do that. So it's not letting anybody on to like their conversation. And basically, you find out that they're at a murder scene, basically, and they're talking about how something's been killed, and they're not. It's even bleeped out, like the word that they're using for the fellow that's been found dead.
Asparagus, rhubarb. I love that part. I wish they would have done that more, like the innocuous, like the talking in codes. I love that part when I first started reading this book, and like with the little yellow subtitles of what they're actually saying. Like, I really dug that. I wish they would have done that a few more times, maybe throughout the story, where you have a couple people talking and they're like in a diner or something, and they're talking in code like that, so no one can really understand. Or I really dug that. I thought that was great. Yeah.
And then after kind of getting the lay of the scene, he goes and like has a cup of coffee, and you kind of get introduced to this green cigarette that he's kind of not wanting to smoke right away. So he goes to his cool ass car, opens up the trunk of it, and just walks into it. And like it's basically a parallel like pocket universe where his forensic expert is examining the dead body. And basically they pull something out of it. They're not quite sure what it is yet, but it's massive. It's immense. There's just like all this like DNA type stuff in it. And like they're at a loss for what this could be at this time. So he goes to the Manunches and fuck, I hate saying this word. Do you know how to say that? Munchausen?
Munchausen?
Yeah, Munchausen.
I don't know if it's Gaelic or German or
it's that guy who thought he was sick all the time. Baron Munchausen, like made a movie about him.
Okay. Anyway, that's what the bar is called.
Yeah, Munchausen's, I think is how you say it. And so he has a drink, and like he finally smokes the green cigarette, and like we get this really cool kind of Ken Russell, Altered States, deconstitution, reconstitutionalizing scene. It's really, really cool. I love the way Rubin did that. And he kind of goes to this other pocket universe where he kind of meets with the council that he works for, and he lets them know what he's discovered so far, that one of these cosmic beings that they don't really have a word for, or whatever the word is, it's bleeped out, has been killed. And he finds out that like it's happened before, like one of them died like 3 months ago, but like nobody like really talked about it at the time.
3 years previous.
Was it 3 years ago? Not 3 months.
3 years.
Okay.
3 years before. Yeah.
It was
it was the detective that was training him to be a detective that was working the case, and he disappeared while working that case. And so that's what they were saying. That was when he disappeared. So he's making the connection between what's his name? Holden Humphreys, I think, was the guy who trained him to be a detective. So he's like, oh, that. So then he's think there's something fishy going on with the council, and yeah. So they send him off saying, well, it's your job to figure it out. So go figure it out.
a happy birthday, Cookie. Man, everybody having a birthday recently, man. Like,
yeah, it was Cookie's birthday yesterday. Yeah.
Did not know that.
Happy
I'm
birthday.
sorry I missed it, Cookie.
She kept it. She didn't announce it. I just saw a picture of a cake yesterday on Instagram, and I was like, oh. It was funny. It says, happy birthday, eat shit. And there's a piece cut out of the cake. So I was like, oh shit, maybe it's her birthday. So I DM'd her. I was like, is it your birthday today? She's like, yeah.
Well, sorry to put you on blast if you're trying to keep it quiet, but yeah, we appreciate you, Cookie.
Yeah.
But yeah, the secret council, basically they tell him that they won't give him Holden Humphrey's records and that he only has a week to solve this case. It's unprecedented.
1 week.
Mm-hmm. And it's like, what? Come on. And like, if you can't do it, we'll get somebody that can.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's sneaky. Sneaky Cookie. So they send him back to Earth, and we get this really funny scene where he's like just cutting ass in his car driving, and this mummy guy who looks almost exactly like Negative Man from Doom Patrol.
Yeah. Like, it's really damn close to the same, right? Except for the sexy chaps.
The goggles and everything, yeah, except for the chaps. Yeah, the detective beats his ass, throws him out of the car. And we don't really know what's going on with that, but it's a really funny interaction. You don't know if this is something that happens to him often or what, but like it comes back. And basically he goes to his house, and you see that he's got happy wife and family, you know what I mean? And like his kids are funny. Like the one, like they try to spell around it so it doesn't understand what they're talking about, and it's able to sound out what they're spelling, and it's like murder, ha ha ha. Yeah. And like she's like, oh honey, that's not appropriate. And like it's pretty cute. He goes and like falls asleep on the couch, and she wakes him up, and basically we get something I never expected to see, like kind of in a Matt Kindt or Jeff Lemire. Like I might be wrong, but I've never seen either of them broach the subject before. But a full-on sex scene, man, and a pretty naughty one too.
Hey, look at in that middle panel. He's actually pulling her hair, man. You see his fingers in her hair and pulling? I was like, damn, they're getting really, really like down and dirty with it, the pulling of the hair and everything. I was like, shit.
And he kind of freaks out for a second, and like he's not in the mood. And she's like, it's okay, you could just go to sleep. And man, I love this horny guy panel where he turns around with that grin. That's almost as good as the one that was in the Punisher issue, man. Like, that's when they draw them horny faces like that, so good. I laugh out loud when I see that shit in comics. And so they go back to Pound Town for a little bit, but afterwards he gets woken up by something ominous. He doesn't quite know what's up, so he gets his gun and goes downstairs, and
in the backyard.
In the backyard by the pool, it's the mummy Negative Man guy again, and he basically it's Humphreys, the detective that trained him, and he's basically telling him like, dude, you don't want to follow this case through. Just drop it. Tell them that like they need to get another agent on it, because like if you do find something, man, it's just not worth your time. Even if you do find something.
Yeah. Yeah, he warns that it'll have dire consequences. His family will die if he keeps going through with this case.
So he thinks he's threatening him, so he jumps in the pool after him, and like we get this really funny interaction with him and the kid again. and he's it's really cool. Later, you see him actually. He goes to this really cool library to like get some more information from this. What's her name?
Her name is Sally.
Sally, yeah, and she's kind of like the librarian, almost kind of like she almost has the same kind of knowledge and power as the bad guy in Ehther, but she's like the good version of Ubel, pretty much. I kind of how I took her. That's another one aside from the green cigarette. I'm kind of like, like this is kind of Ehther-ish, but like just nice little nods and homages for fans without like outright, just it's clever stuff. It's pretty fun. But basically, she tells them that the thing that they found at the crime scene or in the dead body is a weaponized galaxy seed, and basically, it's just got the DNA and the stuff to literally build a galaxy with.
And it was found in the Grand Canyon. So then the detective, which we never really find out his name actually throughout the entire thing, he's like, so this created the Grand Canyon. So that just goes to show you the power of one of these seeds.
Yeah. And as far as we know, these seeds are the only thing that could kill these unknown cosmic entities. And we get basically they find he calls his CSI guy, and he basically tells him they did find DNA at the scene, human DNA, and it traces to a girl named Angelica. And like the detective kind of finds her hotel room, and like he finds these prescription bottles, which then leads him to this weird doctor. And like there's a pretty cool, funny introduction with them, like with the doorman.
Yeah, the security for Dr. Nadal.
Yeah, Dr. Nadal and her sister, like her badass bodyguard sister.
Yeah.
They kind of got a whole Siegfried and Roy thing going with like the really platinum hair and like that's kind of how I kind of like took their look. How did you feel about the odd doctor and her sister?
Yeah, you definitely has that kind of vibe, the back and forth and the look. It's very with the suit and the tie, and yeah, for sure. This is just called Nabad. Is that it?
Yeah,
I think that's what it is. Nabad. Nabad and Nadal.
Yeah, Nadal. And basically they tell him that they are Angelica's pregnancy doctors, and like they sense something weird with her pregnancy, so they knock him out and they got him like chained to like this like torture bed pretty much, and like there's full padinger in this, just warning y'all.
Yeah, full frontal right there. Boom, you get to see the detective's very non-detailed penis.
So we get our kind of first exposition dump. So he kind of explains what he knows of the cosmic beings so far. He says that basically the closest thing you can kind of call them are like gods, but not really in the Judeo-Christian sense, more like the mythological sense, you know what I mean, type of thing. And they were thought to be immortal until like very recently, you know what I mean? But like he has no idea what they're here to do, you know what I mean? That's kind of like where he's at though. Like they know that they exist, they know that they're kind of messing around with us here and there where they can, but like they don't know we don't know what their ultimate goal is. And that's kind of where they leave him, like they kind of let him go. They
dump him in an alleyway.
Dump him in an alleyway, and basically he's got tracking them though. He was able to kind of
he has his buddy there, the science buddy, track them. He says track them down, and then the science guy, he says he needs transportation. So there's like these weird teleportation devices that are disguised as like everyday street items. Like so then he finds, what is it, the
a fire hydrant.
Yeah, and there's like this teleportation technology. Yeah, and he's like, don't drop me over the lake again. So he appears over a highway instead.
Yeah, and he steals like this weird little car that like opens from the front. It's rad, man. and like he basically follows the doctor and her sister to the house, this creepy house, the safe house where they were keeping Angelica, and you find that the bodyguard sister's just like levitating in the air, like decomposing, and basically he says that like, oh, one of them's been here recently, and this is some of the residue of like what they can cause in their wake.
Yeah, dematerializing, I'd say, not like more dematerializing than decomposing.
Yeah, good call.
Yeah, it's a very. Did you put that panel up? I was looking at the book. I wasn't looking at the screen.
Yeah, I flashed it up. I already.
Yeah, beautiful panel, that one.
And so basically, yeah, he follows the leads to like this canyon, basically.
Yeah, where a lot of beautiful splash pages like this throughout, eh? It's just fantastic. Love it. So good.
Yeah. Where he kind of starts like following this tunnel, and like he's trying to figure out like exactly what the these god beings are doing in this valley, you know what I mean, like in the Grand Canyon, and he gets like accosted by one, and like it like opens with this really cute scene of him and his kid like star watching, and like he's talking about like all the planets with this kid, and like it becomes like this kind of warped nightmare where Humphrey shows up and basically wakes him up, and he wakes up and like he's in this lab, and basically like this kind of one doctor character has like mutated his arm to like where he can make his hand whatever he wants it to be, and like we kind of get our first real look, and we see that like like Rubin's totally doing New Gods, man, and he's having fun with it. Like this guy's man, I don't know any of their names, but like you can like look at this dude and just tell that like, yeah, this is some Earth Force shit that they're definitely homaging here.
I think they just call him the scientist, because I think when one of the other cosmic gods or cosmic beings refers to him, they just call him the scientist, I think.
I think they just called him the doctor, actually.
Oh, the doctor. Okay, yeah, the doctor. Sorry, my bad.
And we find out that he is also who made Humphreys, kind of like the floating skeleton. He basically turned Humphreys into the into Negative Man.
Yeah.
And basically he's like, you want to know what's up? Fine, I'll show you. And like basically he just like opens his mind and lets him wander. Like I guess what is what's the planet called where the New Gods are from? Apocalypse or whatever?
Yeah, possibly something like that. I'm not sure 100%, but yeah.
And we get these really great, like Rubin is so good at doing these panoramic like shots where of like characters moving and
moving through them. Yeah. He has a few in the Ehther book too, and I think this is the third one that he does in this one, right?
Yeah, this is well, there's quite a few. Yeah, and he like records some to show to his CSI buddy, and basically like he just sees that they're preparing Earth, you know what I mean, for I don't know, like do they melt us down and eat us or something, but like basically like he comes to the finding that like we are just entertainment and ultimately a food source, you know what I mean, for this
they're almost like a parasite, right? If they feed off planets till there's nothing left to feed off, and then they move on and the planet is destroyed. So these cosmic gods are almost like parasites, right? They just feed till what they're feeding, they just completely drain it of all its sustenance, and then they move on.
Well, that's kind of like what what's his name, the
Galactus,
Dark Side. Yeah, Galactus too.
Yeah.
Like from DC, like that, because I get such hard DC vibes from this. And I instead of like having the good New Gods, you know, like Apollo and them, like this is just like if they were all like Dark Side and like the cult of people.
And their spaceships too. That design is very Kirby-esque as well. Like the little thing with the clip on the top and stuff, like their space shuttles.
Yeah, they kind of look like some kind of USB chip, kind of. Yeah.
It's very Kirby-esque.
And he gets caught up by another guy that's gonna just kind of beat his ass. He like tries to make his arm into a gun, and the dude just zaps him, and he's like gonna kind of kill him until Humphrey shows up, and like he's like, hey dude, remember that planetary seed or the galaxy seed weapon you have, like shoot it at this guy, and like a dude forms like this really cool gun around the seed and just blasts this new god like. And
oh, that panel is awesome. Love that splash page, so fucking cool, with just that like circular part of the body as it's eviscerated. Yeah, it's so cool. So cool. Yeah.
And Humphreys is telling him like, dude, you got to take off now, man, because like you only had that one bullet, and I can help you with these dudes, but this one group of dudes, but like you got to get out of here. And but the detective's like, nah, man, I got to find Angelica, and that's kind of what he's there for. Like he's like, that's the one thing like he knows he can do is he can get her out safe, and he finds her. She's in the doctor's lab, and basically he finds her, and like they've already taken like the half-breed baby out of her, and it's in the tube there, and she's like freaking out. No, she doesn't want to go, but like basically he's like, dude, this is the only thing we can do at this point. Is like we can fuck off. Like like I can hurt these guys a little bit, but like I can't fight them. But if we leave now, like we're so insignificant to them that they won't even follow us. Like that's kind of like the whole point of it. Like as big of a, like he's killed 2 of them, and like it's still to the point where like, we don't even care about him enough to chase him. Insignificant being.
Then he grabs Angelica, and she's like, she doesn't want to leave without her demigod baby, but he just grabs her and gets the fuck out of there, and she's screaming no the whole time.
So yeah, basically like he gets out alive, and he goes to his panel of people, and like they basically tell him, dude, like yeah, we knew that this was going on, but you had to find it out for yourself, and now that you know what's going on, you have 2 choices that you can make. You can stay in the Matrix and be our champion and help us fight these guys in any capacity that we can, or you can we can wipe your memories, and you can go home and be a father. And thankfully, I mean, like, it's kind of vague. They don't really say, but you do see the detective going home and like sleeping with his wife, but like his hand is still mutated. So like, I don't know if that means that like he had his memory wiped, but like he can still, like the council didn't know that they did that to him, so he still has his handgun, or what. But like I'm thinking that there's going to be a second book, and like they're going to do more with this, because like the ending that we get is so cool, because basically like even though like he's kind of ambiguous where he stands, Angelica is a new agent, man, and she's ready to fuck some people up and get her baby back.
Yeah, they recruit her to be the new agent, and it's cool because they have a wall of portraits of all the previous agents that have gone through, and you get a picture of Humphreys before he got turned on the bottom there, and you have a picture of the other detective. It would have been cool if they would have had their names on the bottom of the frames, the picture frames. Yeah, and that's how we get revealed to know the detective's name in this one. That would have been cool.
Yeah.
And that's how it ends. And you get the back matter where they have like the sketch, Rubin sketches and stuff, and it's cool. He drives the detective drives that Cadillac around the whole episode, so they go through that. He has little pictures of like references he used. He got like this old handheld radio. He got some old 50s stuff, to show the influences and design the guys. Looks like he had a lot of fun too with like there's quite a bit of back matter. I don't know. Do you have all that back matter in the Image one? I've got the Kickstarter version.
Yeah,
did they put all that in the version that Image put out?
Yeah, you get all of that. It's just I think it's the size difference, and it's a paperback, dude. Like I think you get all the.
And did you get the fold out like poster?
No, I don't think so.
The Kickstarter has this big fold out in the back with all the characters. Does like a panoramic, and then it's right there we go. It's got all the characters in it. See?
We get all of that, but it doesn't fold out.
Okay, it's all separate pages. Then you have Sally saying thank you for, I guess, to thank all the backers for backing the book, which is pretty cool. And the Kickstarter came with a poster that comes out, and you can just unfold it and hang it on the wall. Yeah. And you said your version is a soft cover, and the Kickstarter you got, one of the upgrades was you get the gold outer paper edge, and you get the ribbon mark. You get the ribbon bookmark. Those are all upgrades from the Kickstarter because I think this book did like what, close to 200 grand on Kickstarter, so it did really well on Kickstarter, which isn't uncommon for big names like Jeff Lemire and Matt Kindt
Yeah,
and
no.
David Rubin. Yeah,
See,
but a great book.
I didn't mind that they did it, to tell you the truth. I mean, it seemed a little weird because I knew that no matter what, it was going to get published. Like, no doubt.
Yeah, for sure. You know, it was like, yeah, like, oh, this splash page, man. Oof. There's so many great panels in this book. Like, I mean, so many good things. Like, tons of splash pages.
Like I told you, in a weird way, I kind of think that originally that was pitched as like a sequel or like a spinoff to Ehther, and like Dark Horse, might have said no, and like they just decided to do their own. It's kind of a weird feeling that I got, like maybe how it started. Like it definitely ended up way different because.
And that, how do you think they got away with that? Putting Charlie Brown in there?
I don't know. You can kind of do that with some stuff because like Frank Miller would always throw other people's comic books into his stuff. If you read like Sin City and some stuff, you'll see like weird characters pop up in the back. Alan Moore did it too in Top 10. Like Gene Ha drew like Popeye and all kinds of people in the background of that book. So I'm not sure how the legality is with using, you know, but like I don't think Charles Schultz is going to be litigious, especially in something that's not as inoffensive as Cosmic Detective is. I mean, like it's a noir story, but it's not a particularly dark one. Like as hard as like you know Lemire and Kindt can get, like this book does not try to go for your guts at all. It's a pretty just.
And I love like originally the car, like the trunk, how it brings you to the science lab there in the back matter. It was supposed to be much more like organic and gooey and stuff, kind of like in Naked Lunch kind of deal, you know, with all like the phones that are organic and you know,
A little more Cronenbergy.
Yeah, it looked like it was going to be a little more Cronenberg-ish in concept, a lot of those the technology, but I think they kept it a little more, went more the cosmic route than the organic kind of
Yeah, instead of going biopunk.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But I love the different, like the idea of going into a different like parallel dimension, like all these kind of weird dimensions kind of existing parallel to one another at the same time. It's pretty cool.
And as for something that kind of like it is like a really kind of out of like superhero type realm, and to kind of jump in and homage something like so heavily superhero-esque, like I thought it was a pretty fun swerve. I think they pulled it off really well. Like in a weird way, I'm kind of surprised that they didn't pitch this at DC, and this wasn't a Black Label book either. You know what I mean? I think that this could have worked in a fun way like that too, if they kind of you know, we're like, yeah, we're gonna have him discover, you know, Dark Side, or however you say his name, is like, you know, doing the anti-equation.
Yeah, like change a few characters so that they're DC properties maybe in them.
Yeah, a little. We'll resemble them a little more closely because they look like DC fucking characters to me.
Yeah, but yeah, but I don't know how open DC and Marvel would be to like publishing, let's say, a book like this that's completely original without any DC characters in them, like brand new characters. Not that they'd want to do that anyway, because they'd lose probably too many royalties and rights to the characters. But yeah,
yeah. Well, I mean, like it's a gamble, but like I mean, like that's what the Watchmen was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, but you don't see it that much anymore, right?
No.
I think too many creators got screwed by the big two, and they don't really want to come up bring their original characters and ideas to that publisher for fear of maybe getting a short end of the stick. Yeah. Well, anyway, it's a good thing publishers like Image and Dark Horse exist, because then we'd get Cosmic Detective and the next book, Ehther. Thanks to those publishers that still give creators decent creator rights over their properties. So, yeah. And God bless them, because I really enjoyed Ehther. This is the next one we're going to talk about. This was Matt Kindt and David Rubin's book that got released, just before the pandemic, like 2015 to 2018, I think this ran. If I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it's quite a while before the pandemic, man. Like
16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, it says here.
Well, when it started, like...
Yeah.
Yeah, well, that's the reason why I never read the third volume until for this episode, because it took a long time for the third one to come out, and like by that time I wanted to reread the whole thing, and
you were saying the original arc, the first arc, 'cause this is 3 story arcs, and you said the first arc they put out in floppies, and the other 2 they put out as straight like graphic novels, trade paperbacks, you said, right?
I don't know if that's true. I know that the original came out in floppies. I don't know what format the second one came out. I got the trade.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure they probably came out in issues, because like if Dark Horse is going to do that, like they usually do their original graphic novels either as original hardcovers, or like they'll be like some kind of weird small shaped book, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So let's see, did Rubin do... I think they had a colorist on this, right?
No, I think he colors all this stuff.
Oh, man. Okay, he did colors and letters, but they had Kaiki Diaz did the flats, so he had someone do his flats, and then he finished up the coloring after.
I wonder if she's related to Boone Diaz.
I don't know.
No,
that's a comic person?
No, Boone Diaz.
Oh, yeah, that's a character. Yeah, sorry, I was.
He's the big guy in the book.
Yeah, he's the protagonist of Ehther. Yeah, Boone Diaz. That's true. Sorry, yeah, you got me kind of daydreaming there a little bit. I wasn't too quick on that one.
And this book, unlike Cosmic Detective, this one gets emotional, man. But like you wouldn't tell it right away, because it starts off really whimsical when you get introduced to Boone Diaz. He's just like, "Hey, how's it going? I'm on the Ehther. This is kind of cool, right? Like, I know this guy Glum. He's kind of
Glum.
He's kind of a dick, but like, I don't know. He's an adorable character. But this time he's actually going to the city with him, even though he decides to still kick Boone in the ass on the way to the gate. I guess he has to do that to build up his own momentum, and he travels with him through the act of kicking him in the ass. Like,
yeah.
I'm not sure exactly how it works, but it's really great. Boone the whole time's like, "Man, there's got to be a better way. Help me. I can help you figure it out scientifically, man. Work with me, and we'll find a better way to do this together." And like, Glum's like, "Nah, man, I enjoy doing this." And basically, like, they have to go to the mayor of the big city of the Ehther, which I don't want to spoil what the Ehther is. You kind of get the big reveal of what exactly the Ehther is in the second book, and we'll discuss what the Ehther actually is when we get there. But the big city, it's really cool. Like, we get this kind of cool marketplace where Glum's kind of leading Boone through, and like he meets this guy who gives him compasses, but like you have to listen to his nasty bird thing.
Yeah. Do you have that where he's yelling? Oh, it's so good where the bird actually starts singing.
The bird with teeth, it's so gross.
Yeah, man. It makes me think of like a Ren and Stimpy type drawing. And then when the speech bubble comes out and it's the skull with the crossbones, like that's how horrible he sings. It's like torture to the ears. Yeah.
Anybody that listens to it's like actually a physical ordeal.
Yeah.
But basically, like, Boone has to go meet with the mayor because something horrible has happened. The Blaze has been murdered, and the Blaze is basically kind of like, she's a superhero, kind of like Wonder Woman. And
yeah, like the sheriff or the guardian of the Ehther, I'd say that's kind of what their job is,
and
right?
yeah, she protects
Hmm.
it. Like is the guardian, and like Glum kind of helps her keep riffraff out, but like she's kind of his boss, and like he really looks up to her, so he's like really bummed out about this, and he really wants to help. Um,
Solve
Boone
this murder.
And Boone, like right away, you get to see him bust his stuff out. This book's really good at building Boone and his talents up, which is kind of good because, man, like I said, this book is like a yo-yo. It has its ups and downs, and we'll get to it when we get to it. But like I like that they really showed you his strong suit before showing
Hmm.
you his weaknesses. But like, yeah, he like right away kind of like finds what happened, and it's a magic bullet.
Yeah, and the
And
bullet is kind of like almost fetus looking, and
yeah,
this is where you really get the feel of how quirky this book is. Like you get little signs of it, like you're saying, like the bird, Glum having to kick him to go like through the portal. You know, you see it's a little funny and off the wall. But then when you see this little bullet, like it looks like a little fetus kind of thing, then you're like, okay, this is going to be an interesting ride throughout this world, this universe that they created together.
Well, in a weird way, it's almost H.R. Giger too, because like one of my favorite pieces of his is called Birth Machine, and it's a bunch of little skeleton babies in bullet shells with like goggles.
Mm,
It's such a cool art piece, and like for some reason the little baby magic bullet in this like hella like made me think of that. I don't know if
mhm.
you know that piece of art or not, but
I've seen a lot of his stuff. I'm sure if I saw it, then I had a few of his art books. I don't
but
think I have them anymore, but yeah. So I'm sure I've seen it. I'd have to go through those books again and check.
that's something I liked about this too, is that everything was kind of biological, kind of living,
Hmm.
and yeah,
Hmm.
it's like little dude bullet, and but
Yeah,
they're legal. They're not supposed to be able to be made. So
yeah.
like basically this is where we kind of get introduced to the Moriarty, and yeah, like before we go any further, I have to say like this book is in its heart a complete homage to Sherlock Holmes, almost to a fault. We'll talk about that when we get to the end, but like yeah, like if you love you some Sherlock Holmes, this book like really kind of skates a lot of similar lines. There's a lot of uh, you could see a lot of allusions to Sherlock Holmes. Like after a while, after you start seeing them, you can see Glum as Watson, and
Watson. Hmm.
Violet's kind of your Eileen Adler character. I'm not sure who Grandor is. Grandor, the greatest fucking character in the book. We'll get to him when we
Yeah.
get.
Oh, he's good. He's yeah, he is good. I love him. Grandor. Such a
But
good character.
Ubel is our Moriarty, and this is where we get introduced to him because Glum and uh, Boone, they have to go to the Imaginarium to kind of read the books on magic bullets,
Hmm.
and this is where you meet Ubel, and he's him and Boone. They kind of play back and forth, like Boone's kind of saying like, "Huh, you didn't cover your tracks too well. We found your magic bullet." And Ubel's like, "I have no idea what you're talking about, good sir. Like, here are the
Hmm.
books you're requesting." And like Boone's like, "Yeah, I know you had those books hella close because you were making magic bullets, man." And like, yeah,
Hmm.
it's really clever. They have fun. A
Yeah.
lot. I was already a
And
pretty fan of Matt Kindt by this point, but like, yeah, this is one of the books that really super endeared him to me. Like, made him like a goat.
and Boone is like a detective to a fault. Like you know it's him, but you have to have the proof. You can't just go around like we need the proof before we can flat out accuse him. And then Glum is like, no, we know it's him. And Glum's more like, who cares? Like let's just kick his ass because we know it's him. And he's like, no, we've got to get the proof. We've got to get the proof. So
Well, the problem with
he's
that is how powerful Ubel is, because like
Ubel is within the ether. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
he controls like all ideas. It's almost kind of like Sandman at this point. Like everything is kept in books, and Ubel is the library of all the idea books that ever get
Mhm.
that exist in the ether. And it's
Mhm.
basically any idea anybody ever has, and he basically rules over like what is ethical and what's going to pollute like the ether and their so he's already like a super authoritarian type of character, and
Yeah.
so yeah, they have to tread on eggshells, but like they know it's him, and they know they have to take him down, but like at the same time, like they have to completely play softball with kid gloves to the max with him.
Yeah, find the proof. Follow those breadcrumbs.
And basically, this is kind of where we had learned that Boone can't stay in the Ehther indefinitely. He cannot eat in the Ehther. Like
any of the food in the Ehther, yeah, he can't digest it. He just pukes it up.
So he has to return to Earth to eat at the end of issue 1, and like you find out that like, man, when he returns to Venice, Italy, he's unhoused and he's destitute. Like they legit like show him like stealing bread, but like it wasn't always like that. We kind of get like in these books, there's always kind of the story that's going on right now and a flashback story to tell you like what happened. And this one in particular is kind of about Boone and his wife and kind of how he first got to the Ehther. And we kind of get introduced to her, and he's kind of young, idealistic, and there's like they know the Ehther exists and there's portals to it, but like nobody can really get there. And Boone's whole thing is like you can rationalize anything. Like there's like nothing's magic, everything's scientific, and you can rationalize anything. And Hazel is this girl, young, idealistic, and she comes up to him and says, "Do you believe that's true?" And that kind of introduces them to each other, and you can kind of see sparks fly right off the bat with that. And that's kind of like the first kind of glance we get at the background of Boone, which, yeah, man, like, he is such a tragic character, but pretty likable, man.
I'd say most of the characters in this are not without their charm, right?
And then basically like he gets what he needs and decides it's time to go back to the Ehther, and we find out how you get to the Ehther. And man, this is where the book starts to get a little dark. The only way you can literally get into the Ehther is you have to know and be okay with dying. So like he legit has to basically unalive himself every time he goes. And this kind of makes me think that like this book might kind of be a metaphor for drug use, because like he is addicted to the Ehther and he has to kill himself just a little bit every time he goes there. Kill himself a little bit. Like I'm not sure. Like there's it's an idea, but like it's way in the background. It's not a preachy point if it is like an illusion that they make, but
yeah, I could see that. Especially after when you see how the Ehther, the Ehther and the, let's say, Boone's world, like they run parallel, but time doesn't run parallelly, right? Like anyway, they get to it. We'll get to that later, but that's another thing, how you lose time, right? Like you can't get that back. Like all those years of like you're saying, drug use and stuff, and the broken relationships, you can't go back and fix that. Like, it's in the past. And like now that you're saying it, I could see all the parallels throughout the story to maybe that.
Yeah, there's a little something in the back, but like, yeah, it's not like an overt messaging thing. Like you can totally avoid it if you want to, but like it also kind of goes back to Sherlock Holmes, because like one of my some of my favorite stories people have done are about like him but like,
oh yeah,
he was head kind of, and like he used to shoot up cocaine, like the 7% solution book, stuff like that. Like I thought that those were really cool takes on Sherlock Holmes, and I think that might be what Kindt was kind of going off of with this, which is a really good homage too, because that's kind of a take that a lot of people have had with the character of Sherlock Holmes. Conan Doyle himself never put that in there, but like it fits with the time period and with the way he operated. It would be totally within parameters that the guy was shooting up coke, like a lot of intellectuals did in that time period. But like, yeah, the whole idea getting back to the Ehther is pretty grim, man. And like that's when I first read this, I was like, man, this is a little dark even for Kindt. But like it brings it back up, man. Like he gets back and like runs right into Glum, and like they're he's like, "Where you been, buddy? It's been for days." And like, he's like, "Well, man, I had to eat, and time works differently." And he's like, "Yeah, but I'm like really in a hurry to like fuck this dude up." So,
Yeah.
he finds out if he discovered anything, and well, no, we kind of get first we get the flashback, and we find out why Glum is so indebted to the Blaze, because
the Blaze, yeah.
She literally saved him from a slaver when he was a kid, and basically he asks Boone while he was away if he discovered anything about the magic bullets, and he said, "Yeah, man, like they're made with a compound that can only be manufactured in one place, and it's actually literally the land of abundance," which I thought was hella funny. And we get another one of those beautiful Rubin fucking panoramic.
Yeah.
I love this, man. Oh, he is so good at those. And
I mean, Rubin got to have a lot of fun with the character designs, all the different types of characters and creatures and species in this. Like, so cool, right?
The weird birds and the faces coming out of the water.
Yeah, man. He must have had a blast drawing this.
Yeah. I mean, he didn't get to go crazy with the Kirby, but like, yeah, I think he went crazy with himself on this one, because it's all just.
Yeah, see, the other one was more cyberpunk cosmic, and this one leans a little more into the fantastic, right? Like fantasy.
Absurdist, man. There's a lot of Dada stuff. Both are very Morrison-esque, though. So I mean,
yeah. Mm-hmm.
They meet this guy who basically made the magic bullets, and they're about to get information out of him when out steps a copper golem with a gun shooting magic bullets, and we get this another flashback with him and his weapon. It's kind of
bad. That screaming bullet. Love that screaming bullet.
No. We'll get to the really great panels with it, like in after the flashback.
Okay, I thought you already showed it. Sorry. Yeah,
the flashback with the when they're still not married yet, but like basically like there's something going on with her. She knows a little bit more about the Ehther, and she's worried about him wanting to go so badly. And basically, like, dude, it's cool that you got your grand and everything, but promise me you won't go over there. And he's kind of like, I don't know, baby. I'm pretty sure I want to go over there. He's doing the whole Dewey Cox thing. I think I want it.
Yeah.
And then we get back to the bullet.
And so good. Like that page, man. Come on, beautiful page.
I was gonna cut it, man, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I had to show like all the whole page, man.
Because so nice. Like that'd make a beautiful poster to hang up on the wall, like a big, like have it blown up and framed and put that on the wall. That's amazing. I love that.
But basically, it smokes the little dude that made the bullet before they can actually get any information out of him. But it's okay, because they just decide to beat the hell out of it. And Glum, he goes kind of crazy, beats its head in a little bit, and Boone's able to cut its arm off. And that kind of gives them their first big clue. And Boone's able to look in it, and he's able to see the spell written on it. And it's a very particular writing on it, which leads him to coming up to, man, one of my favorite characters in the book, man. I love Violet Bell, but we're getting
Violet. Yeah, we're going to the Fae, world, the Fae forest.
Yeah, and
forest of the Faes.
This interaction on the bridge, man, with the little dude. Basically, they have to prove that their hearts are pure, that they are going for noble intentions. So basically, the bridge underneath them breaks, and like if they're not lying, basically they will fall towards the village and be saved. But if not, like they'll fall closer to the their edge and just fall to their deaths, I guess is how it works. And like they're able to make it. And dude, I love the interactions between Boone and Glum too, because like Boone
so good.
Just keep fucking talking, man. He won't shut up. And Glum's just like, man, are you telling me all this, dude? Like, I live here. But like, it's neat. He's basically explaining it to us, the readers. But you get a really good banter between the two characters, which really make them a really great friendship. I love the stuff. But like, basically in this one, Boone's kind of just running his mouth about past interactions, and he's just like, dude, you're gonna piss everybody in this village off, and they're not gonna want to help us, which happens to Boone a lot too.
All the time, yeah. Yeah.
So, but like basically they get to who this is a character we know that Boone has met in the past, Violet, but we know that she hates him and probably doesn't want to work with him. So they get there and she's just like, "Hey Boone, how's it going?" She's like being way too nice, so he knows something's wrong right off the bat, which I thought was hella funny.
Yeah.
Which leads to us finding out that the copper golem was there, making her forcing her to make a spell for her. And we get some really good banter between her and Glum. Like Glum basically has good banter with everybody, man. He kind of keeps the book rolling, man. Like him and his dialogue really, really like just saves the thing.
Yeah, he carries the book.
But he carries it. That's what I meant to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
But basically, like Boone is able to kind of fight the copper golem, but like to no avail. And it's able to cast its spell, and it they don't know what the spell is yet, but it rips a hole from the Ehther to Earth. But to America, which is bad for Boone because his house is in Italy, and so he kind of has his first fight with the copper golem, but it kind of escapes him. And he's stuck in Earth, but in America, and he leaves Glum and Violet in the Ehther to basically, try to fix the tear from their end if they can, type of thing.
And then you get another quick flashback to him and his wife, where he's studying.
This is the big flashback, man. This is where the wife kind of explains to him that like why she doesn't want him to go, and he's like,
gets to the Hazel's chapter. Tells her story, like you said. Yeah.
And basically, when she was a little girl, like she went to stay at her grandma, and her grandma had like all these places that were closed off, and like she was never supposed to go. And one day she breaks in to the attic, or is it the basement? And there's a well down there, and she falls in it, and she basically went to the Ehther and goes to the city, and Ubel finds her and fucking tortures her, man.
Yeah. Like she runs into Glum, right? And then goes into Glum warns her, don't go into the city. And of course, what does a kid do when you tell them not to do something? They do exactly that. So she wanders into the city, and like you say, Ubel gets his hands on her. And this is where you see why Glum hates Ubel so much, right? We get to the part where they
he breaks in and like he saves her, man. And like they don't specifically say it, but like I took it that like he personally like walked her like to the exit of the Ehther, kind of, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
The way it kind of, and like this is where you learn that like the Ehther, like when you leave it, like she was there for I think 4 days, and like it was 5 years. And by the time she got back, her grandma was dead, and her parents thought that she was dead, and like had almost given up on finding her, and like and but Glum told her like, don't tell anybody about us, they won't believe you, pretty much. So she basically didn't ever tell anybody until telling Boone right now about the Ehther. So this is like her big revelation.
Yeah. And you could see in his eyes when he hugs her, he's almost jealous because she's already been, right? You can see the envy in his eyes when he hugs her and comforts her and says, I believe you, it's okay.
Yeah, he's a complicated character, to say the least.
Then we get the fight with the Golem and Boone.
Well, basically, like he decides that like he knows how to find the Golem, but like he's got to get to Italy, so he sells like this gold thing for hella cheap, cheaper than it should be. And so he gets to Italy, and he uses his crystal ball to find the Golem, but basically the Golem's there. And like it attacks him in his house in Italy, but like Hazel's there, and she shows up with this cool sword that he gave her years ago, And like right before he's about to get smoked with the magic bullet, Hazel and him, they just fuck up the golem really fast. And basically like, hey, thanks and stuff. She's like, shut up, dude. I don't even care. Like something bad's going on though, so come with me. Like there's something going on with that map you gave me.
Yeah. And you see she's aged
way
quite a bit. Yeah, than him now. She's quite in her retirement years, right? Yeah. In her, what do you call it?
her golden age, I think,
yeah, starting her golden age, right? So
her golden years, or however you say that. Golden age is probably not the proper way.
Yeah, you see they still have an admiration for one another.
You can tell she's hated him, but she's moved on from it, type of thing, is like how I take it. And yeah, she basically takes him in and shows him that the map that she gave him, that like something's happened. There's been like holes that have been burnt into it in 3 different spots, which basically mean that there are more portals. Like there have been other golems that have punched holes or whatever in reality, but whatever this golem did, there's other ones of them, and basically he has to go to the Ehther and fix them from that side because there's no magic here, really, on Earth. And basically it ends with him kind of getting back to the Ehther and confronting Ubel a little bit with what he kind of knows, them playing a little back and forth again, and Ubel giving him the, well, you have no proof, good sir, shit. Yeah. And yeah, that's kind of where this book left for a long time, man. Like it was a pretty big break between the first arc and the second, if I remember correctly.
Okay.
But I was into it right off the bat, man. I remember getting the first trade and loved it, man.
Yeah, like Glum, such a great character right off the start. His attitude, like just the joy he gets in kicking Boone in the ass to send him to the town. His no nonsense attitude of like, let's just kick his ass, man. Who cares about detective work? Let's just do it.
And we didn't talk about her much, but like the character of Violet, man, like her hatred, but you can tell that it's justified for Boone. Like I really like that that's set off right off the bat. Like you don't think that she's just a negative entitled character. You can tell that there's a good reason that she is so negative to him. You know what I mean? Why she?
Well, doesn't she say it's your fault that? Doesn't she say it? She doesn't go into specifics, but you know what you did, and it's your fault or something. She says something like that.
Yeah, and like he pretty much explains to Glum that that the reason that she's mad at him is something that he did, which we don't know what it is.
We don't know yet. Yeah, exactly. It's still a little bit of a mystery, right? So
yeah, like I said, the first book, it really kind of showed like how good Boone is at what he could do, and like the second book is kind of like how fucking shit of a person Boone could be in retrospect. I mean, like not overtly, but like you get what I mean, though, right?
Yeah, he's not deliberately a shit. It's because he gets so obsessed about his work that he loses sight of everything. Like
I don't know about that. The way he treats Violet's not too cool, in my opinion.
No, but I mean, he gets so caught up in like finding the mystery, right? Figuring it out and solving it. He becomes so obsessed with it that he loses sight of everything around him, and like let's say at the cost of his personal relationships, right? So like as we'll see later on, the whole Violet story and what happened there, like he can't get out of his own way, right? Like even though he's warned and people are like, listen, we don't need you to solve this. And yet, no, I'll solve it. I can solve it, right? Like he's his own worst enemy, basically.
Yeah. And that's kind of like what this book like completely amplifies. Almost like, yeah. I mean, almost to a cruel point, but like I don't know, I still really appreciate it, man. I love
great.
the way this story curves, you know what I mean? And this leads us to the second arc, the Copper Golems, which starts with basically he's locked up. We somehow he got back to Earth, and like this time he was back in Italy, and he got caught stealing food. And basically the agency that he used to work for is back open, and they're willing to fund him and protect his family and all that. Like he's going to be taken care of, and we kind of start the flashback to this story, or no, we kind of learn about the other people that have tried to go back and past, and like basically the agent talking to him is telling him like, man, you care more about your job than you ever did your family, so we know how you are, and we're going to try to find a food source so you can just stay in the Ehther because that's where you want to be. And he's like, how dare you say that? You don't know anything about me. She's like, dog, I know everything about you. I'm your daughter. Exactly. And Dad, I love you, but you've never been here, and we know who you love. You love the Ehther, you know what I mean? And I took this job so I can maybe fucking talk to you once in my life, but and it's so great to meet you finally. But like, we know what you're about, dude.
It's true, just the way you said it, Ehther, right? So the drug thing is there. The book, the place he loves and he's obsessed with is Ehther. And didn't Sherlock Holmes used to huff Ehther all the time?
I don't know. What I read was that like he liked cocaine.
Because I thought he was like, Ehther's what you use to go to sleep, right? Doctors used to use that to go to sleep, and if you, with the right amount, it gets you high, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure. I think Hunter S. Thompson would huff it. Like I've never done it, and
so you're right. It is. It's definitely it's there. Like the whole thing is probably about Boone's addiction, right? He's addicted to the Ehther, which is, so you're right. It definitely has that drug connection there. Like as you're saying it just makes more and more sense.
Yeah, and basically she tells him that like they haven't perfected it, but they are working on a food thing for him. And like he's like, okay, cool, but like I want to see your mom one last time. And she's like, oh, dude, I don't think he wants to see you though. But like he does. He goes and sees her one last time, and she tells him about like how the daughter like fought her to get a job. But the daughter actually wanted to go to the Ehther herself and find the dad and hang out with him, but for some reason the mom talked her out of it. Like,
well, it's the only connection she could have to her father because he's never there, right? Was studying the same thing he studied and contributing to his life's work. It was the only connection she had to her father, so that's why she wanted to become a part of the agency and do that.
Yeah, basically Boone, does his normal thing, and like now you can kind of see how he's able to do his trick, why he's able to get into the Ehther when nobody else can and kill himself a little bit every time, you know what I mean? He's I think he deserves it in some aspect, you know what I mean? In a weird way, in a weird sad way. But like, yeah, he gets back to the Ehther, and like he's hanging out with Glum, and like they have to basically team up with Violet because she made the spell to open the portals to Earth. Like they're gonna team up with her, but like they get to the Fairy Kingdom, and she's gonna unalive herself because she's being exiled. They're gonna take her wings off, and she's not gonna be able to do magic again ever. And like even though that she's still alive, she's not able to do magic at all. So they have to get a true spell spinner out of prison, which introduces my favorite character of the book, man, pretty much. But yeah, I love the scene with the prison. They get to this like a really cool contrived prison. We get another one of these Rubin schemes, and like they get past the guards, like Glum, and beats the hell out of them, and they sneak in, and like there's these cool jellyfish that guard the place, and like if you set them off, like it triggers the alarm, but they explode acid. But Boone figures out that like they react off of anxiety, so like he hops down and he's able to get right past them. It's really cool
because he's cool as a cucumber.
But like, yeah, he saves the coolest character, man, Grandor, who's like this cool I don't know what he is, man. He's
a bull.
Yeah, he's like a bull goat dude. Which I mean, I'm not sure what Glum is either. He's kind of a he's kind of a ape, but he's got
Ape,
goat legs. You know what I mean? He's
goat
got
legs. Yeah.
so like they're all kind of really neat, imaginative creatures. But there's a kind of a neat H.P. Lovecraft tied to Grandor because he deals with fear and like the horror elements of things, and like he smokes these cigarettes of Azoth, which are kind of like these. We'll get to that when we get to it, but like the he's kind of yeah, he's kind of a cosmic horror type being. Like he kind of enjoys the
That likes
being
to wear the little red hot pants
yeah.
and the red uh, fingerless gloves. He's just a funny character.
But
Yeah.
like, yeah, he's the ultimate badass. Cause you like Glum was already like a tough guy, but like, yeah, Grandor's like even like more badass than Glum. Not that they
Mm-hmm.
have a competition though, like which I thought was cool. That there was never any like really butting heads. The only time
No.
anybody ever talks shit about anybody, it's usually like to Boone, and it's just,
Boone.
dude, shut up, man. Like, fuck, you
Like
never
he,
stop talking.
like get at like we have this. You don't have to butt yourself into every situation, right? Like he bullies his way into every situation when they don't need his help, right? So
But yeah, we get basically Grandor. He has this cool like dragonfly motorcycle that he summons, and like they're able to get away from the dragons because he made these cool golem fake versions of them that the dragons are burning. So they think that they're still on top of the jail when like they're long gone. So like they're able to make a clean prison break. Meanwhile, we get a flashback. The flashback story of this book starts, and we get the first introduction of Boone and Violet, and
Violet.
you can see like right away, man, she did not like him. She's like talking mad shit, but like you could see the sparks in his eyes, man. Which is why I said that like, man, like he totally leads her on. He is a fucking douche nugget and a half to Violet, dude. In my opinion, like
Yeah.
that's my take. How do you feel?
I don't, it's hard to say. I don't think it's deliberate. Like I think it's he does it in a way where almost like he's trying to impress her, but it backfires on him. You know what I mean? But
Yeah.
yeah, like because he does have a family. Anyway, we'll get to that part later. They get to that part later where they have a little bit more of a romantic uh, uh, encounter, well, sequence when they're on their little adventure.
But yeah, this is where we get the really cool exposition dump, which is kind of told with some really fun banter with all the characters this time, kind of telling Boone to, dude, like really, like I like Glum, like, dude, can anybody else ride with this guy? And basically, they get to what is known as Rome in our world, but like now you find out that and this is where Boone really describes what the Ehther is. And the Ehther is basically anything that's ever been imagined or thought of by people is what the Ehther is made out of. And the more profound and the more people believed in a certain thing is like how big and pronounced a place is. So something like Rome, it exists in the Ehther, but it exists as like the weird mythological sense of it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And like it's not going to make any sense even within like the myths. You know, like when this is and while he's breaking it down, we kind of get introduced to Grandor's cigarettes, man, and I love
Yeah, yeah,
these. And like he's just smoking it. You don't know quite what it is yet, but like basically like they run into like this really kind of mutated, fucked up version of Romulus and Remus and the babies, and like they're closing in like these crazy like fire stone wolves
yeah,
and Boone's making this crazy flute to kind of stop them. Meanwhile, like Grandor and Glum are like beating the hell out of him. Meanwhile, Grandor grabs this one and like he tells you finally find out what his cigarettes are. And like I said, they're like this elder god H.P. Lovecraft thing that like fill you full of fear. And like he's like blowing his secondhand smoke into this dog's face, and like it just like terrifies it and makes it run away from him.
yeah,
And it's hella cool.
yeah, yeah. It's pretty cool, those cigarettes. Yeah, he can smoke them no problem. He's a
So
badass.
so they can go into the volcano and meet the great wizard, basically, to find out where the portal is in the volcano. And probably my favorite one of the Rubin one of these for this book, man. I just love how it kind of breaks even his rule of the way dimensions work, but I
Yeah,
love it, man. Like it's
yeah,
really
that's good.
surreal, very Salvador Dali, but like really cool. And they get to the Great Wizard, and it's kind of like this punk rock chick on a iPad or
Mhm.
something, right? Like a
Yeah,
TikTok.
like a crystal. Yeah, exactly. The crystal's kind of like a cell phone or some kind of device, right? To
Yeah, the way the feeling that I got from it, yeah, he was just
yeah,
like TikTok wizard, and it's hella cool. Like basically to get to the portal, Boone, like a dipshit, like makes this deal with her that like, you'll have to answer a riddle, and if you fail to answer it correctly,
we
we die.
lose. Yeah,
We die.
exactly.
If you don't answer, we die. But so only if she answers it correctly will they just survive.
Hmm.
And he asks this really, really convoluted, stupid ass sounding riddle, to which everybody's like, dude, why did you ask that? Why did you depend all our lives on that? Which, this is actually one of the few things that Boone comes through with in this book. And he's like, because he knows she's so fucking full of herself that, like, dude, you're the greatest wizard in all the lands. You're going to have to answer this. Otherwise, nobody's ever going to take you seriously again.
Yeah,
So the answer that she gives, you don't know if it's legit or not. You know what I mean? No matter what she
yeah,
says, I'm pretty sure he'd have been like, "That's correct." But like, yeah,
possibly.
I love that. Like at the it said like, get the answer at the end of this issue.
Yeah.
In the book, I thought that was such a funny thing that they threw in
Mhm.
there, such an old timey comic book thing.
Yeah. So yeah, they get passage.
Well, she lets him through, but like she's gonna set her volcano off in 15 minutes. So like, but like underneath the lava, man, like there's like the portal's got like all these kind of crazy like imaginings come to life, and like one of them was like this big massive spider tank thing, and like
Spider Golem.
Grandor jumps down and he's like fighting it, and like he's doing his spell, and working his magic, which Boone deduces is just math.
Mm.
And then we
Some
get
great scenes in there, right?
and we get a neat flashback, which proves my point that like Boone is playing fucking mind games with poor Violet. Like she gets caught by the spider, and like he makes out with her before saving her. Meanwhile, telling her that like, yeah, we're gonna solve the problem, and we're gonna save your village, because basically this is where we find out that there's a witch that is threatening the entire fairy forest. Um,
Forest, yeah.
and like basically Boone's gonna try to save the forest with her. And solve this problem, and because like she's sending these spiders in to kill everybody, and this spider golem kind of reminded him of that, and
Hmm.
which kind of triggered this particular part of the flashback. um and they're just watching Grandor do his shit, which is, I love the way that Dave Rubin did it. Like I said, man, these books, like, yeah, dude, like they're really good Matt Kindt and like Lemire books, but all in all, they're Dave Rubin books, man. Like he's the one that really, really walks out of these things and looking like the champ. Um, but basically, like, he's doing his spell crafting, and they're watching, and Boone decides he's going to jump down, and because he can figure out how to defeat the spider, and he's going to help. But
Mm.
I love Grandor and Violet watching, and just like,
Yeah,
man, that lava's getting pretty close. Maybe we should,
yeah.
yeah, let's
Step
back up.
back. Look at each other like, yeah, maybe you're right. Yeah, I love it. There's like those little comedic moments in it, like you said. I mean, yeah,
Oh yeah,
it's great.
the whole cast is great, man. Like
Yeah, their
they're really
interaction, the way they interact with one another, it's fantastic. Yeah. 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 So then, what are we at? We're at Grandor and Boone defeating the Golem Spider.
yeah, pretty much. Basically, like, yeah. Boone is able to like basically find like this fuse in it, and he breaks it, and it kind of makes it explode. Meanwhile, Grandor was finishing closing the portal anyways, so like it's kind of a draw at like who actually solved this problem. But Boone's convinced that he helped Grandor. Meanwhile, Grandor's like, dude, like next time, fucking don't come down here, man. I'm doing my shit.
He had it under control. Yeah. It's a pissing contest, man. I think those are the only two that actually have a competition. Is Boone and Grandor.
Yeah.
Out of all the characters, they kind of have a bit of a pissing contest almost. A few occasions throughout the book.
And this next one, they find the portal. It's in Earth where Egypt should have been. So like they're going down the Nile, and it's like really idealistic. And yes, I just hear like some real cool synthwave music playing at this part, man. Some like Carpenter Brute, definitely playing.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. I love the whole thing with like, don't look at the sphinxes. They'll ask you riddles and they never shut up. And just the way that like the inside of the pyramid is like, it's just like this cool winding staircase constantly going down. And basically they get to the bottom of it to try to find the portal, and they get ransacked by the gods. And basically Boone gets stuck down there. And this triggers another flashback. And it's kind of him trying to eat food with Violet, and him telling him like, I have a wife, but like they're kind of playing footsie with each other. Meanwhile, like he's totally sending mixed messages, in my opinion. But meanwhile, you see that the pyramid is actually transformed into this really cool fucking big creature, man. Like the pyramid's actually transformed, and like Boone's just like got to climb to the top of it, and like, oh man, I love this double splash, man, of him just trying to get to the top to hopefully find his friends. And like, yeah, he gets up there, and Grandor is doing his magic, trying to shut down the big pyramid transformer monster guy.
Yeah. Then Boone working his way through. What's that little creature called again?
He finds like a crazy like little slug basically, and like he thinks that he knows how to stop it, so he goes down and he's got the flute, and actually Boone does kind of stop this thing, like he blows up the pyramid. And
it's a hydrogen-based slime, so slug, hydrogen-based slug.
Yeah,
he plays his flute, and boom, the frequency makes the slugs explode from the frequency from the flute.
Yeah.
Oh, I love that middle panel. Do you have it where it explodes?
Yeah.
That is awesome. That middle panel with the head flying and you get the kaboom. Love that. Man, I love his work. David Rubin, he's awesome, man.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, love it. He's got some great panels. 3-panel grids.
And man, like this next part of the arc, man, like they get to the fairy forest, like what used to be the fairy forest on the map where the third portal is, and like they're kind of going through, and like everybody's kind of being a little tight-lipped at this point. And it's Grandor that's saying like, man, you thought the fairies would be cleaner than this. Why'd they let this happen to their forest? And meanwhile they're saying that like this portal feels different, man. There's like an energy to it.
This is the final portal, right, that they have to close?
Yeah, and they basically get met by like this weird little dude who basically he's the master storyteller, and he kind of entrances them all, and like basically Boone is in like this like Sherlock Holmes story. It's like drawn like all like vintage style. Like I love the different art styles that they bust out.
Yeah. Then you have Violet, who's got like this fantasy story where she's slaying 3-headed dragons. Violet Bell, hero of the fairy realm. And he gives each story a little title, right? Like they're almost like movies, like little movies or episodes. Boone Diaz, Science Adventure will be continued next month.
Yeah.
The completely rational adventures of Boone Diaz. Yeah.
And then you basically end up finding out that Grandor isn't stuck in one of the fairy tales though. Like he's immune to it, basically because like he smokes his fear cigarettes or whatever. You know what I mean? So he's
Yeah.
not. So he's just gonna chill out and like wait for somebody to break through. But like this is kind of where we get to the end of the flashback story to this one, and this is where we really get the punch, man.
For
Basically,
Violet and Boone.
yeah, they kind of have like this last little kind of touching moment where he's like kind of playing with their emotions, like, "Hey, I got a wife and kid. I got to go home after I fix this very important problem for you." And she kind of gives him a kiss, and like it's still iffy, and like he gets to the witch, and basically like she's like, "Dude, you don't want to like really take this your normal way. You might want to, you know, try to fight her because like this lady's crazy, or like bide your tongue at least, because she is a racist. She hates all fairies, this crazy spider witch. She is attacked us for centuries, you know what I mean? There's no reasoning with her." And Boone talks his normal shit. He comes up to her and like, "There's nothing that can't be fixed, and you gotta," and like she's like, "Yo, yeah, you want your logic? Fuck all fairies," and
Yeah.
boom, nukes the entire fairy forest.
Yeah.
Just completely just eradicates it, man. Burns down the ancestral home of the fairy kingdom. So that new nice one that we've been seeing in the past couple arcs, that's the new one. That's the substitute.
I love the design of that witch. It's so cool. With her face after like boom after. So fucking cool.
And meanwhile, like, yeah, we get to see like his whole like little Sherlock Holmes power fantasy where like he finally like figures out how to outsmart the story, and like he's able to walk out of it, and basically uh him and Grandor are able to find out that the storyteller actually is the portal. The portal's on his back. But like he makes these 5 copper golems pop out of the ground, and Boone actually like is badass in this moment, man. He doesn't try to talk his way out of it. He just swings that crazy like Ehther sword he's got, chops up them golems, and he's like, "You know what, dude? I'm tired of your shit." And like, yeah, Grandor's like, "Yeah, dude, it's too bad you put that on yourself because this is gonna hurt like a mug." And like, yeah, basically does his spell throwing and like.
And it almost seems like Boone has like a little feels for him a little bit, eh? The way he draws the eyes and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah.
Then we get back to the town because they close all the portals, right?
Yeah, they get back to the town, and they're trying to tell the mayor about how it's all down to fucking Ubel. You know what I mean? They finally have some proof because after they close the portal, Boone finds that little thing. Remember? Another little microbe type thing, and like he's like, "This is the final proof we need." And like when they get there, and the mayor's like, "Yeah, dude, that's all well and good, and like maybe a week ago that would have mattered, but since you've been gone doing this, Ubel has taken Blaze training, and he's become the interim Blaze, so he's now got all the power of a superhero, so he's kind of unstoppable." And he runs the Ehther kind of, and like he decrees that Boone needs to like leave, never be shown again.
Exiled. He exiles Boone from the Ehther.
And you're not really sure what happens to anybody else. So we kind of get to see Boone back on Earth, and you find out that like his the agency's busted again, and like his family lost all his prominence. And while he was gone, like not only did his wife pass away, but like his youngest daughter isn't alive anymore either. We're not sure what exactly happened there, but it doesn't sound like it's really good. But the daughter that worked for the agency, she was actually able to do the one good thing for her dad. She was able to finally make food that he could grow in the Ehther that he could eat. So she basically tells him, "Dad, go where you wanted to always be, man. Like you never have to come back and think of us again." So like, yeah, he decides to go to Ehther one last time, man. Stay there. He's gonna finish and try to save the one thing that he's fixed, but meanwhile showing us the one last interaction between him and Violet.
After the explosion, the fallout.
And then that's kind of where I left this book off for a long time. That with the to be continued in the disappearance of Violet. So is the name of the next issue, next series. So like, oh man. So as much as how I teased Adrian about not being able to live with the anxiety of not reading what happened to Snake Eyes in that GI Joe comic.
Yeah.
Like I kind of put myself in that same kind of feeling with this, man. Like,
Yeah.
oh, dude, this book is so wild. But like, dude, that second arc, it's so great, right? It's like, I mean, I hate to use this analogy, but it's perfect, right? It's the Empire Strikes Back of the series, in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
It's probably the best one.
It's good. Like I loved it. It's
and
great.
this last one, I remember. I don't know if I want to talk about your text message interaction with me before I read it, but like you kind of said that like you liked it, you thought the way it ended was a little cliche, but like it was
Mm-hmm.
a good ending, and
But it was good, yeah.
And the funny thing is the first thing that I thought of when I read this was like, oh, this book was already like Sherlock Holmes. I wonder if they end it like Sherlock Holmes, and we'll get back to that, but
Yeah.
because since you labeled it like that, and yeah, I'm uploading some pictures right now. So
oh, there we go. Yeah. So man, if you're not familiar with David Rubin's art, maybe because this is a full story that's done now. We're getting into the final chapter that was 3 trades worth. They have the hardcover. I picked up the deluxe hardcover for this one, which is a beautiful oversized library edition. Dark Horse does great library editions. But if you really want to get a taste for David Rubin's art, there's also, and you're a fan of Black Hammer, he also did a Black Hammer universe story with Jeff Lemire for Frank. What is it? Frankenstein Detective Frankenstein.
Sherlock Frankenstein. That's actually
Sherlock Frankenstein. Yeah, and that's David Rubin draws that mini series for the Black Hammer series, and that's a great series. Yeah, so you can pick that one up too.
That's actually the first spinoff that they did from the pages of the Sandman universe or the Black Hammer.
Hammer. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that's a fantastic one too. Go pick that one up. Cosmic Detective is a pretty quick read, so you can pick that one up if you want to check out David Rubin's work. I know he's worked on a few other things. I saw he had a Beowulf book that you could pick up that got released by Image. He's worked on a few things anyway, so he's pretty prolific.
The first time I remember seeing him, like he did the Battling Boy prequel books.
That's what you were saying. Yeah,
Aurora West. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, and I don't know, is he from Spain or is he from? That I'm not sure about. I forgot to go check.
I think he is from Spain. I know he's a Spanish. He might have gotten famous in South America and got brought over. Like there's a lot of your artists that get like that get brought to Europe from South America from being pretty popular artists for magazines and stuff.
Yeah, he's Spanish. He was born in Spain.
Okay, cool. So he's like Faklavia and stuff.
Yeah, European. He's a European. Really, I love his stuff. Yeah, I got a list of some of his books here. About the Battle Boy one you were talking about, Ehther, the Black Hammer. Let's see what else. Oh, he worked on some issues of the Mind Management. He did the latest series by Matt Kindt that came out. He had a bunch of different artists do. I think he had a different artist for each issue of that run. Black Hammer, obviously. Sherlock Frankenstein. Did some covers for Rumble. What else do we have here? Like I said, they had the Beowulf book that I saw of his. I'm thinking I'm going to order that one because the art in that looked really good. So I'll probably order that Beowulf book. It looked pretty impressive.
All right. So, Volume 3, The Disappearance of Violet Bell. And this one starts off, they all kind of start off like not right where the last book left off. This one starts off, and I love this imagery of Bone shaving his head with this really cool head shaving creature. Like, it's one of my favorite things I think Dave Rubin drew for this series. And his discarded hair is blowing down on Violet's father, who's coming up to visit him, and basically kind of explain to him kind of the what's happened since he's been gone, and basically
tells him the story of the 7 gods, the 7 lucky gods.
Yeah, the 7 lucky gods, which yeah, they kind of come back up in the book, but they're he's kind of on the island of them, right? At this point, he's hiding there.
Yeah, he's gone into exile, where he's isolated himself on this little mini mountain.
Yeah. And he basically finds out that Ubel's been just taking over the land, and Boone's kind of like, whatever, like that's nothing new. And then he finds out that Violet's been kidnapped, and basically her guards have been killed, and like they don't really know what happened. So Boone's like, fuck, that's kind of the only person I can make things right with at this point. You know what I mean? Like, his daughter pretty much said that, like, yeah, I'm probably not going to be alive next time you come back, so don't even bother. So like, yeah, he wants to at least go down in the Ehther as a hero, or try to. That's his goal here. You know what I mean? So he's going to go try to save Violet, or find out what happened to her. But first, he needs to go get. He's got to reassemble the team. So he goes looking for Glum. And man, this is the saddest part of the fucking book, man. Glum hiding behind that tree like that. I'm like, oh no, what happened? And then he comes out, man, and he's like all scarred up. You're just like, fucking Boone, what did you do, dude? You did it right away. You're like, fucking Boone, what did you do? And that's not quite told yet, but like basically fucking Glum's like, whatever, dude, like, yeah, we got to save Violet, you know what I mean? She's gangster, so he's in.
So he goes into the room to inspect it, look for clues.
Yeah, I love this scene, man.
Like he does.
And yeah, like I love that you can see it hanging there in the middle, but you don't quite know what it is, so you don't know that that's the key thing. But like, yeah, and he spots it, man, and like this thing is just so fucking cool. It transforms, and it's basically like this battle armor sarcophagus is how it's described. And like, oh, dude. And Boone like kind of tussles with it, but doesn't quite fight it, man. Like he kind of lets it go, but like you see he sprinkles something on it while he's like tussling with it, and like it escapes, but like he says that he puts some smelling salts on it, and basically his diary can tell him where it's going. So basically he's put a tracking device on it.
Yeah. So he figures that wherever this thing goes will lead them to Violet, is his logic.
But they got to cross this sea pretty much and get to this island. And
this whole sequence is hilarious. Like I thought it was fucking funny.
Yeah, it's Boone being Boone, but like it's not in a super tragic way. Yeah, it's more
very comedic, very comedic. And where Glum's like, dude, I told you, just keep your fucking mouth shut,
But yeah, this is where we kind of learn what happened to Glum's eye. Like, we find out that there was like this mantis thing. It was one of Ubel's henchmen, and it basically attacked after the and it's what cut out Glum's eye. And they kind of tell that on the boat, and like Boone's trying to apologize about it, but he's kind of being a douche at the same time. He just can't say sorry. Is his type of thing.
Well, because he can't admit that his approach was the wrong approach, right? Because he has that annoying, rational discussion can solve every problem. You don't have to do violence, right? And that's how he approaches everything. and these mantises were like violent, right? And so he has a hard time admitting that, we should have just beat the shit out of them, and
Yeah, we should have just fought those things. Like you were able to kill all those golems in the last book. You know what I mean?
yeah.
Like you're either got to be that way or not, dude. Like,
so he's like, let's just move on. I don't want to talk about it. Bringing
and
up old scars, opening up old wounds, right? So,
and the boat's like over this sea, which basically like this kind of ghost type stuff comes out of it, and like it causes like all these disturbances around the water, and like he realizes that like he can make it stop if he causes this explosion. So he thinks he saved the boat, but like he really just blows a big hole in it.
Well, not just that. Don't look into the water. What do? He looks into the water. He caused it, but then finds a solution. But if he would have just listened to them in the first place, he wouldn't have had to have found the solution for this. And this is like all these stupid things that are his fault in the first place for not just listening to just basic instructions on this trip, right?
Well, I wanted to test the water, and like, and he ends up blowing the hell out of the boat the second time. The first time he just blew a hole in it. The second time, like he almost nuked it, man. And like, he's like, Boone and Glum's telling him, man, I had to save your life. They wanted to cut your head off. And he's like, what? After all I've done? And he's like, exactly. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
They really had to tie him to the boat to keep him from doing anything else. And then when they get there, it's so bad that Glum's like, dude, you haven't changed. I can't go with you anymore. So Boone gets to the island of the seven gods, and like basically he thinks he's got him figured out. He's explaining to him that like what you guys all really want is you want to die. And they're like, well, man, you're full of shit. You can't kill us. And he's like, sure I can. So he pulls out his little device and he makes all their lore on Earth disappear. And like he makes the little baby character like die right away. And like the dude's like, dude, just because we said that we wanted to die at some point didn't mean we wanted you to kill us right fucking now.
Right now, yeah.
So they stake him out on this island with these like birds, these like glow birds that are going to eat his eyes when Glum shows up and saves his ass. He's like, I didn't even leave you alone for one whole day, and this is how I come back and find you. Yeah. And the seven gods show back up, and they're like gonna fuck him up for letting him out. And like Boone says, like, dude, I could have brought him back anytime. Like, if you had let me finish. Like, I was saying, like, this is the option. So like he brings the little Trump baby back to life.
Yeah. Yeah.
So the gods are like, okay, you can go you can go to the underground forest under our lair, which is where he wanted to go anyways, to where the tracking device was telling them. And like the woods here are so fucking cool. And then we see like the creatures that they actually are, like, man, like, he must have had so much fun coming up with the creatures for this book.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, and when he feeds it, just you see its jaws and with its teeth and everything. So cool.
Yeah, they're kind of like he feeds it this weird rat, and like they're kind of like puppies, man. Like they'll chase anything you kind of toss.
Yeah.
So like they kind of get by that, and they get to the sarcophagus guy, and he's there's like a big maze that they get through to get to him, and they have a pretty cool fight with him, and like basically Glum's getting his fucking ass kicked. I thought they were actually going to kill him off here. When
I kind of got that feeling too. I was like, oh man, are they gonna do it? Is he actually gonna do this? And like, especially that panel where you see Glum looking at Boone, right? When he gets his head pounded into the ground, and you have the assassin with his hand on the back of his head, and he's just looking at Boone, and the way he drew the eyes and everything, it was almost like Glum accepted his fate, right? Like that, this is it. This is the end for me. And I actually thought maybe he was gonna do it. He was gonna pull the trigger, man.
When the little the crazy monster things all broke in trying to get more food from Boone, luckily, man. And like in the stampede, like they were able to kind of trash the assassin to the point where like they were able to render him to the point where he broke down and basically told them what they already knew. Like, but like we get a really cool backstory about him. Like he was he was found by like these crazy cannibals. And like they trained him to be this really cool assassin, like top tier assassin, and that is how he got his crazy armor, and he ended up having to work for Ubel pretty much.
The Cannibal Cabal.
Yeah, and really cool backstory, man. Like, I like towards the end, man. Like he threw all this stuff at you, but like nothing felt rushed and nothing felt left out. Like I thought that like he handled like this story with such grace, man. Like,
yeah,
I really really love all the places this story goes to. Like,
and then you get the big
reveal.
Well, not the reveal, but another character comes back into the story, into the fold.
Yeah, basically,
Mr. Cool Cat himself.
After he spills, like, the assassin goes back into his little pod and he says, "You can't hurt me anymore." After he tells them all the story, and that's when Grandor shows back, man, and he just starts blowing his cigarette smoke into the casing, pretty much. Like, this will freak him out. He'll be out to talk to us in no time. Just give this 2 shakes, and then he opens his shell back up, and Grandor just
tries to slash Grandor, but he won't have it, man. He's like, fuck this shit.
Beating the fuck out of him, dude.
Gives him the pressure points. Doot, doot, doot. Touches him in a bunch of different places, right?
Yeah. Opens him up, and they have the fight, and he's just pulling his fucking swords off of him and just like tearing his limbs off, and then he's basically choking him out, and like he has him answer questions, and like he basically says he's saying that like he tried to kidnap Violet, and he took her. He was gonna take her, but before the assassin finishes what he says, Grandor kind of just pops him, and like he starts drinking, chugging some booze, and Boone's hella mad at him. He's like, "That's our one chance to find out where Violet was. How could you do that?" And Grandor's like, "Dude, listen, you have no idea what my past has been like." And he tells him about like all these fights and like all this sex that he's had, like, and like these guys are just like, okay. And then like he's just like, "Oh, and by the way, Violet was never really kidnapped. You know what I mean? She was able to get away before the assassin came for her, and she's just been hanging out with Grandor this whole time." So it's hella happy, and it's a really cute moment where her and Boone kind of like, "Hey, what's up? I missed you," and like they kind of really reconnect, and he explains to her that like she's the only thing that matters to him right now. He doesn't like really have a family on Earth, which was like the one thing that kept them apart in the past. So
his life on Earth is no longer an obstacle for them to actually have a relationship now.
So meanwhile they're traveling to like this final outcome with Ubel this whole while. Like him and Violet are growing closer to closer until finally they get down on the get down. They smash like Hulks do, which is more than Boone deserves, but like it makes where we're heading a little sweeter, you know what I mean, a little nicer. And they kind of end up in the land of nonsense, right? Is what it is, where Ubel wants to have this final battle, and we get like some more of Rubin's just really great artwork. Give me a second. This fucking program.
Yeah, where they show the city where they're climbing down the cliff to get to this city. Yeah, it's pretty cool. Yeah, on the cliff, and they see Ubel up on the edge, on the top of the edge of the ravine or off the edge of the cliff. They see him there, so they're like, "We got to get up there."
Yeah,
you can see him right on the little tip there where that beam's coming through. You see Ubel up there. Boone spots him, and he's like, "We got to get up there and beat his ass."
And they have this kind of cool like we're not so different, you and I type back and forth, where like Ubel is like he's dressed all heroic and chivalrous, and like Boone's almost in bad guy colors, and like they're kind of explaining this waterfall that they're at, and basically like anything that falls into it like just ceases to exist, and that's kind of like
Yeah, and this is where he kind of like his whole spiel of everything can be resolved through logical and communication. And he's like, enough talk. Let's fail to communicate, right? Then it's
Yeah,
on.
and he's just
Then
like
it's
straight.
on.
He just straight spears him, tries to throw him through the waterfall. They have like a pretty cool tussle. Like it goes on a little bit, but yeah, Boone realizes why he was always the one that was able to go into the Ehther, and does his whole being okay with unaliving himself technique, and just grabs Zubel and is like, does the Sherlock Holmes thing, man. Like I said, like they to a fault, this thing is an homage to Sherlock Holmes, and they even do the Falls of the Reichenbach or Reichenbach, however you say that, where him and Moriarty. This is, I kind of wish that they did their own thing, man. But like, if you're a big Sherlock Holmes fan, I can understand, like doing the homage all the way through.
See,
It
this
has,
isn't the part. This wasn't the part. This I was fine with this part, like where like he sacrificed himself for the thing he loved, right? So, and the little flashbacks to all the people of his past lives, like uh, Hazel, his kids, Violet. Like he's come to peace with like all these people, and he's made peace with them. He's had his final, you know, say. So I think he's at peace with his decision to, sacrifice himself to save the Ehther.
so yeah, him and Ubel both fall and dissolve into nothingness. So basically Violet, she is standing there with Grandor and Glum, and man, it's such a sad panel, man, but I love it, and it's done
Fucking
so
Glum.
good.
Glum, like he does such a good job of drawing Glum's expressions, and I think that's why I love this character so much in this book, because David Rubin does such a fantastic job with like all of Glum's expressions of his annoying face, his angry face, his like it's just on point, and you get so much from it, right? Like hats off to David Rubin for the way he drew Glum in this. It was just fantastic.
And so Violet basically goes back, and when her father dies, she becomes queen and rules basically the Ehther now. I'm guessing is how it goes, and at least the fairy with Grandor and Glum as her companions, and with the little baby Boone in her belly.
Yeah, that's the part where I was like, oh, okay, they're gonna do where she has the baby to carry on Boone's legacy. I was like, okay, whatever. Like, I like it. It's a fine ending. It's great.
So that's what you meant by the cliche. I thought you meant
Yeah,
cliche
yeah.
by doing the whole Sherlock Holmes of the
No, no,
false
no. That was
back.
fine. It was the her being pregnant because he passed. Like the hero passes away, but she's pregnant with the babies. So in a way, he'll live on, right, in spirit through
Yeah.
his child, which I thought was kind of like a lot of stories do that, right? Which is fine. It was a fine ending. I thought it was good. You know, is that last chapter was pretty much Boone's retribution, or not retribution,
Redemption.
redemption arc was that last. That's pretty much, and it was great. Like you had the pirate ship part, which was fantastic. I love that whole story where Glum is, and Glum's always had his back, right? Thick and thin. Glum has always had his back, looking out for him, because Boone is too oblivious to the world around him, right? Like almost to a point of autism, right? Where he doesn't pick up on social cues like a normal person, right? And Glum was that like his compass that kept him grounded. So
Yeah.
I
I
love
mean,
that duo, Glum and Boone. Great comic duo, man. If you had to pick like a great comic duo, I'd definitely pick. They, they'd probably come close to making my top 10. Boone and Glum.
like I would I give this book like a good 9 out of 10. Like
I
it's super good. Like that hardcover, you could probably get it and read it all in one night if you're a savage like I am, or you could probably you could probably stretch it out like Joe did. How it probably took you about 3. You probably read it arc by arc.
I read it like I'd read it around. I'd go to bed and I'd read like. So basically, here the chapters are split into issues, right? Like most. So I'd read at least a couple a night, and I think there's 12 chapters. So it's like 6 days roughly. 5 to 6 days it took me. But I'd read like a couple chapters a night, and I'd really like took my
15
time.
chapters, man. Like they're
15.
15
Okay,
issues in
so
total. Yeah, 3 arcs of 5 issues, man.
okay, so like yeah, it took me about 5 to 6 days. Like I took my time and really read it, and yeah,
Dude,
really.
it's a blast, man. Both these books are like I would give Cosmic Detective an 8. I would say like
Yeah.
the art alone maybe bumps it up to a 9. Maybe that's a 9 too. But like the Ehther, like all the way through, like with the heavy emotional content of it, like fuck, it's such a good read, man. Because it
Yeah.
balances out with the absurdity and the
Mhm.
surrealism and shit, but you get those feels in it, man. And that's why I
Well,
love Kent. Like
yeah. Well, where Ehther gets an unfair advantage over Cosmic Detective is Ehther is a complete story,
yeah,
right?
it's
We
a
have the whole thing. So Cosmic Detective, we don't know. Like right now, it's an 8, but if they continue it and bring it to, let's say, this amazing conclusion, then it'll probably like it could shoot right up to a 9, right? So, but for an opening chapter for Cosmic Detective, an 8 is a fantastic score.
But I mean, these are both solid. If you haven't checked Cosmic Detective out, man, I think the trade's like $16. It's totally worth it. It's so much fun. And but like Ehther is something that, like Joe said, man, like people don't talk about it too much, but it's like it's a fucking cherry in Matt Kent's eye. It's up there with Grass Kings and some of his other just masterpieces, in my opinion. Like the Divinity books from Valiant are another one of his that just shine. But like this one, like yeah, it's top of his career, man. I'd put it, and I'm a huge fan of his. I love most of his work. So
And he picked a great collaborator to do this, like David Rubin, like really fun stuff. Like I
he
mean,
he put him on my level. Like he put him like on my radar. I mean to say, not on my level. Like he
yeah.
really put him into focus for me because like I said, I first saw him in the Battling Boy books, but those were black and white, and like his art was kind of more cartoonish. It was a lot more on the Andrew McLean style of things. Whereas like when I first saw Ehther, like with his coloring, because David Rubin's coloring is insanely beautiful, which I think you guys saw
Mhm,
like
mhm.
with the
His
art we showed.
covers, all his covers for these chapters and are fantastic.
So when
Great
like
work.
when I saw Ehther, I was just like, God damn, this dude is mad talented. He's one of
Mhm,
the, and then like just seeing how much like when he like even hones it in more like he did in Cosmic Detective, like oh my God, like he is a force to be reckoned with. And
mhm.
I kind of would like to see like what he's got in the tank for like something that he writes himself, man, because like he seems to have enough fun with these character designs that like I would if he would do like a straight up cartoonist style book, I would read the hell out of it, man.
Yeah, and in the collected edition, you have about, let's see, how many pages of back matter. You have
Well,
all the
well,
variant covers.
in the trades alone, you get a probably a good 12 pages of back matter in each book, 12 to
See this?
18 pages. I didn't count, but so yeah, I think collected in the back of the hardcover, and there's probably extra in the hardcover.
Yeah, there's maybe a good 20 pages of back matter at least. A solid 20 pages, if not 30, of back matter of sketches, script pages,
Oh, and covers.
uh,
I wasn't able to
concept.
I wasn't able to say, but like my homeboy Farrell Darrenpool, he did some uh what are they called, variant covers for it, especially for the third arc
Mhm,
in the back of Ehther. So yeah, like lots of cool stuff to be had.
mhm. Definitely a fun read. Love it. Mike Allred did one. Jen Bartel did one. Uh, Marcos Martin, Bill Sikowitz did one. Paul Pope did one. Yeah, you have Farrell's here, the one you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah, you got his here.
A Boone running with this, looking just like a Rinchy, man. Like I would love to see a Rinchy's Ehther crossover. Like that, they could make that happen. Like they're both weird enough to cross over with each other.
Of course, Jeff Lemire did a variant cover. Gabriel Hernandez Walta. Dan Barrington.
Did Matt Kindt actually do a cover? Because I actually like Matt Kindt's art. I know a lot of people make fun of it, but
let's see. Oh, I don't see one in here. But I think he did a lot of the. He did a lot of sketch work though, like for layouts and stuff, like for ideas for layouts and shit like that. So he did do a lot of some of the sketch work for it.
Yeah, he's a really fun artist in his own right, in my opinion. I like that kid.
Yeah. So yeah, great book.
So yeah, man, that was our look into our David Rubin double feature, man. And yeah, we might talk about Sherlock Frankenstein in a further point. We were going to bring that up tonight, I think, but I think we decided we had enough to talk about, and we did.
We had plenty, yeah.
This is a 2-hour show, and we talked about a whole omnibus and an original graphic novel. So
yeah. So yeah, man.
Thanks for coming along with us. We're going to be back on Sunday afternoon Sunday.
Yep.
With our 4th and final episode for the Deadly Class. It's not our final episode of the Sunday Spank. We're going to continue that on with other books, but this is wrapping up our 4-part special look at Deadly Class. We're going to be looking at what's the name of this hardcover? It's called All Kids Are Skeletons, I think is what it's called. I saw it on Amazon, and that's the title of
shit, I don't have it near me. I don't know what it's called, this one.
I didn't know the hardcovers actually had titles like the trades did, but like I was looking on Amazon. The one you're sending me is called like All Kids Are Skeletons or something like that.
Yeah, and it has Maria on the cover of that one and her full makeup.
Yeah, that's the one thing. Like the covers are okay on the Deadly Class hardcovers, but like I think the covers are a lot better.
Yeah, they just went with more of a graphic kind of look for the deluxe edition hardcovers. They just kept it simple and very similar from one to the next, like to have a very consistent look for the covers throughout. So
that's going to be a lot of fun. But like I want to warn people, if you watch us on Sunday, like we're gonna spoil the end of this book. Like
the end of the series is like every other episode, we're full spoilers. So
so I want everybody to know that we're going to play our siren and everything in the episode, but like, even beforehand, I want people to know we're going to discuss the end of the series. So.
Yeah.
All right. That's it. That's about it. We'll see you on Sunday then, folks.
Later.